My husband's phone was on the kitchen counter. He had gone to shower. It was a Sunday morning, the specific quiet of a Sunday morning when the week hasn't started yet and the house is still and warm and nothing feels urgent. I was making coffee. The phone rang. I glanced at it. No name, just a number. An area code I didn't recognize. I didn't answer. It wasn't my phone. The call went to voicemail. The voicemail played automatically. His settings, not mine. And the sound came through the speaker before I understood what I was hearing. A child's voice, a little girl, maybe 7 or 8 years old. The specific clarity of a young child's voice, no self-consciousness, no filter, just the sound of someone saying exactly what they meant. She said, "Daddy, when are you coming home? I made you a picture. It's of our house and the dog. Mommy says you're busy, but I miss you. Okay, bye. I love you." The voicemail ended. The coffee maker beeped. I stood in my kitchen holding my husband's phone and I did not move for approximately 2 minutes. My husband had told me, but clearly, specifically, in a conversation I could replay word for word, that he had no children. We had had that conversation before we got serious. The kind of conversation couples have when they're deciding whether they want the same things. He had said no children from previous relationships. He had said it directly, without hesitation. She sounded like she was 8 years old. We had been together for 5 years, married for 4. Stay with me. His name was David. We met when I was 28. He was 32, established, settled. The kind of man who seemed to have already figured out who he was, which at 28 felt like exactly what I was looking for. We dated for a year before moving in. Moved in for 6 months before he proposed. Married the following spring. 4 years of marriage. A house, a routine, a life that felt from the inside exactly like what I had wanted. He traveled for work 2 or 3 times a month, sometimes a week at a time. His job required it. Regional clients, he said, spread across 3 states. I had never questioned the travel. It was simply part of the structure of our life together. I understand now what some of those trips were. I put the phone back on the counter exactly where it had been. David came downstairs 20 minutes later, hair still damp from the shower, coffee mug in hand. He picked up his phone, checked it. His expression didn't change. I watched him from across the kitchen. I said, "Who called while you were in the shower?" He said, "Nobody important, work thing." I said, "What?" The voicemail played automatically. I heard it. Now he looked up, and in his face, for just one moment before he arranged it into something else, I saw the specific expression of someone who has just understood that a door they thought was closed has been open this whole time. He said, "I can explain." I said, "I know you can. I'm asking you not to. Not yet. I need you to answer one question first. One question. Yes or no. Do you have a child?" A silence. The specific silence of someone calculating whether honesty or a continued lie is the better option. Then he said, "Yes." I put my coffee cup down very carefully. I said, "How old?" He said, 8. I said, and you have known since before we met." It wasn't a question. The math was already done in my head. He said, "Yes." I picked up my keys. I said, "I'm going to my sister's. Don't call me today. I'll call you when I'm ready to talk." I drove to my sister's house. I sat in her kitchen and I cried for approximately 1 hour. Then I stopped and I started thinking. Over the following week, I learned the following. The little girl's name was Maya. Her mother, a woman named Christine, had been in a relationship with David before he and I met. The relationship had ended before my relationship with David began. Christine had told David about the pregnancy. He had chosen not to be involved in a consistent way. A decision I would later understand that Christine had contested legally and that had resulted in a custody arrangement that was, on paper, formal and documented. He had a daughter. He paid child support. He visited those trips, some of them, to the area code I hadn't recognized. He visited his daughter. And he had told me none of it, not when we were dating. Not when we were deciding if we wanted children. Not when we got married. Not in 4 years of a marriage built, I now understood, on a foundation that had a significant piece missing. I called a lawyer on day 3, not to file for divorce immediately, to understand my options, to know what I was dealing with before I decided what to do with it. The lawyer was calm and thorough. She explained what David's legal obligations had been. She explained what mine were now. She explained the financial implications of the child support arrangement and how it intersected with our shared finances. I had not known about the child support. It had been coming from an account I had no visibility into. That was the detail that clarified everything. He hadn't just hidden a child, he had hidden a financial reality, an account, a payment, a portion of our life that existed completely outside what I thought our life was. I came home on day 4. David was there. He had clearly not slept much. He looked like a man who had spent 4 days in the specific purgatory of waiting for a verdict. I sat down across from him. I said, "I've spoken to a lawyer. I understand the legal situation. What I want from you now is not an explanation of the facts. I have those. I want you to tell me why. Not why you didn't tell Christine. Not why you chose limited involvement. Why you didn't tell me. Specifically, why, when we had the conversation about previous relationships and children, you looked me in the eye and said no." He talked for a long time. The explanation involved fear. Fear that I would leave. Fear that the complication of it would end something before it began. It involved a version of himself he had constructed where the child was a separate compartment, managed, contained, not relevant to the life he was building with me. It involved, underneath all of it, a decision made for his own comfort at the expense of my ability to make an informed choice about my own life. I listened to all of it. Then I said, "You took away my ability to decide, not whether to be with you. Maybe I would have chosen you anyway, but you took away my right to choose with complete information. That's what I can't forgive. Not Maya. Not Christine. The choice you made to keep me in the dark." He said, "I know." He said it quietly, like someone who has known for a long time and has been waiting for the moment it arrived. I did not leave immediately. I want to be honest about that because the story would be simpler if I had walked out that day and never looked back. I didn't. I spent 3 months in the specific difficulty of trying to determine whether what we had built could survive what had been hidden. At the end of 3 months, I had my answer. It couldn't. Not because of Maya. I want to be clear about that. Maya was a child who had done nothing wrong. Whatever happened between David and me had nothing to do with her. What couldn't survive was the specific knowledge of how carefully he had hidden something for how long, and what that level of deliberate concealment said about who he was and how he operated inside a relationship. People who hide things of that magnitude don't hide them once. They hide them as a practice, as a way of managing the gap between who they are and who they want you to believe they are. I did not want to spend my life looking for the next gap. I filed for divorce in month 4. The process was difficult in the way that endings always are when they involve unraveling 4 years of shared life. I'm not going to pretend it was simple or clean. It wasn't. But on the other side of it, and I want you to hear this clearly, on the other side of it is a life that is entirely visible to me. No compartments I'm not allowed into, no area codes I don't recognize, no voicemails that rearrange everything on a quiet Sunday morning, just my life, completely mine, completely clear. The voicemail lasted 43 seconds. 43 seconds that contained more truth than 4 years of marriage. A little girl who missed her dad, a picture of a house and a dog. "I love you. She did not know about me. I do not know what she knows now. What I know is this: the things people hide are not hidden because they are unimportant. They are hidden because they matter. Because the person hiding them knows that if you knew, you would make different choices. You deserve to make different choices. You deserve all the information, every single piece of it. If something in your life doesn't add up, the area code you don't recognize, the account you don't have access to, the explanation that is just slightly too smooth, pay attention to that feeling. It knows something. New story every day. Subscribe so you never miss one. Just wait.